We also need to be aware of what helps us recharge, because we do need to know what that recharge can look like for us individually. We get a recharge confused sometimes. We tend to think it means we have to take a break. Instead, we want to realize that our true recharge is going to be choosing to do something that's going to send us back to the emotional work stronger and sharper and more capable.
Earlier this year, Studio 5 parenting contributor Heather Johnson urged you to discover what recharges you and then prioritize it so that you can feel like your best self. But recharging simply doesn't mean resting, and resting isn't always recharging. So that conversation with Heather sparked today's conversation with my next guest, who will help you discover what things truly energize and revive you. Dr. Luyi Kathy Zhang is a hospice and palliative care doctor. She's also a life coach who shares her thoughts about life on her podcast and social media pages. Welcome to Studio 5, Kathy.
Hi, Courtney. Thank you so much for having me.
It's nice to meet you through the screen.
Same here.
So, Kathy, you wish that earlier in your life someone had told you about the difference between resting and recharging. And what is that difference?
Yeah, so, the way that I like to think of it is kind of an analogy of a bathtub. So I think most of us have probably heard of the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. So this kind of goes further with that. So I like to think of the energy levels that we have to be an adult, to do life, to work, take care of our families, as the equivalent of the level of water in a bathtub. Now, if we want to increase the water levels in a bathtub, we usually have to do two things. One is to kind of plug up the water that's draining out of the tub. And that to me is akin to resting, right? And then the other way is to add more water into the tub, and that is what I like to think of as recharging and restorative things. And so when we think about it that way, it helps to put a framework in terms of, hey, what's draining me and what can I do to refill my bathtub?
Yeah, I love that analogy. That is such a good one. So help us understand what a day of rest may look like versus what a day of recharging may look like.
Absolutely. So I think, I was doing this a lot too before I kind of realized the distinction between these two. Like you'll have a work week that's finished, you come to the weekend and you just rest, you're relaxing on the couch, maybe some Netflix or that sort of thing, and you're not really doing anything that requires a lot of energy. That is resting. And what I think people get caught up on is that they do that, and then at the end of the weekend, they're like, why am I still so exhausted, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think then that is an opportunity for us to add things that are restorative, that are recharging, things that nourish our soul, things that make us feel alive, and that's different for everyone. What I want to say is that it doesn't have to necessarily be something that expends a lot of energy. Some people think you have to go out for a walk or you have to go get brunch with your friends. It could be something like just sitting at home and reading or journaling or doing something that's less energy requiring, but still makes you feel really nourished.
Okay. Oh, that's great distinction. Thank you for the examples. I think that's so helpful for us. And you have two questions we should ask ourselves often. What are they?
So again, with the bathtub, just think about what's draining me right now? What's draining the energy levels from the bathtub? It could be work, it could be family, some life stressor, caregiving for elderly parents or something like that. And so when you think about it that way, okay, what can I do to plug that drain? What can I do to either, do I need to delegate or do I need to, do something else to just take a break from these things that are draining my energy? And the other one is what can I do to refill and replenish those bath water levels, those energy levels?
Yeah, I like that idea of having like a little self-check-in every once in a while, right? So
Absolutely.
What if someone is having a difficult time thinking of those things that they can do to refill their bathtub? How can women rediscover what recharges them?
It's such a good question, and I got so many questions about this on my social media. And so here are a few questions that I think of. One is, what did I love doing as a child? Because before we were adults, we were, young kids and running around and interested in all sorts of things. And that was before the responsibilities of life and that sort of thing. So thinking about what you really love doing as a child and try to re-explore that and bring that back into your life. The second one is, what seems fun to me right now? Have you ever wanted to try a new hobby, or you saw something that you're like, actually, you know what? That seems really cool. And then the third one, which I think is really, really important, especially for women, is what would I do or try if I weren't worried about what everyone else might think? Because I like to say that we all have the answers. I tell this to my clients all the time. We all know deep down, just that sometimes there's a lot of noise or we're afraid of being judged by others. And so if we use that question as a guide, I think it'll really help open up some answers for people.
Yeah, and I love this idea of like, just go and do it. Try one of these things. And sometimes, I have found personally that it's like, I try something I think I'm gonna like, and it maybe doesn't like click great. And so it's on to the next thing. Okay, what else could be, something that I love and that could recharge me? So I think those questions are so great. And you say your job has taught you a lot about this concept. Can you share your experience with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a hospice and palliative care doctor, which means that I take care of seriously and or terminally ill patients. So I spend a lot of time talking to people who have had a lot of time to reflect on their own lives, especially as they approach the end of life. And you've probably heard of, the regrets of the dying. And a lot of people will say things like, I wish I'd spent, more time with my loved ones. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had taken more pictures of myself when I was younger instead of being self-conscious about how I looked.
Yeah.
The thing that kind of sums all of those regrets up is one word, which is connection. It's either connection to self or connection with others. And so if we think about the activities that recharge us, I would recommend to people to think about and engage in activities that help you feel connected to who you are and help you feel connected to others, whether that's family, loved ones, or community.
So good. Thank you, Kathy. Where can our viewers go to learn more from you?
You can go to my website, LuyiKathyZhang.com, or my social media on Instagram, Dr. Luyi Kathy Zhang.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Thank you, Courtney. Take care.